Hello everyone and welcome to your Amazon Fulfillment Center virtual tour. My name is Adam and I'm going to be your host for today. And as you can see on the screen, I am joined by two of my colleagues. I am joined by Hannah, who's based in Man 1. Hannah, give us a wave. And I'm also joined by Paul in LCY2. Paul, give us a wave as well. And my colleagues and I will be taking you around and showing you what happens when you click buy on the Amazon website. Now, if you've been on one of our in-person tours before, you're going to notice that these are a little bit different. And you probably already noticed that me and my colleagues are wearing masks. Now, this is part of our COVID safety precautions that have been implemented since the start of the pandemic. So we're just going to show you this quick video to show you some of the more things that we've also implemented. Amazon has made over 150 process changes in our sites, including mandatory mask wearing for all employees on site, social distancing to help us maintain 6 foot or 2 meters of distance from each other, contactless screening as we enter the building, and as you can see right here. And we've also got on-site COVID testing at most of our fulfillment centres. We do understand that these masks may muffle our sound a little bit, but they're for our safety and the safety and well-being of our co-workers. And on today's tour, you're also going to see some of the other measures Amazon takes to keep our employees healthy and safe, including new equipment and technology. Now we're going to start today's tour with a short video that's going to show you a little bit of the history of where Amazon started and where we are today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the welcome video.
The Amazon you know today doesn't look like the Amazon we used to be. In 1995, Amazon exclusively sold books online. Every order was carefully packaged in a small garage in Seattle, Washington, then hand-delivered to the post office for shipment. Back then, Jeff Bezos hoped that one day Amazon would be big enough to afford a forklift. Over 20,000 forklifts and hundreds of buildings later, it turns out that books were just the beginning. Over the years, Amazon evolved from selling only books to housing Earth's biggest selection. Now we employ over 750,000 people in more than 20 countries around the world, revolutionizing the way customers shop for everything. We also support millions of small and medium-sized third-party sellers worldwide, so we can offer you the products you love. Amazon's fleet of planes, trucks and local delivery service partners consistently evolve to deliver on convenience. Now, customers can receive Amazon packages on the day they choose, with same or one-day shipping. We don't just think about shipping products. Sometimes we create them. In 2007, we launched our first device designed to enhance customers' lives, the Kindle e-reader. Since then, our growing list of products and services include Fire TV, Alexa, Echo, in-store shopping experiences like you'll find in Amazon Books, Amazon Go and 4-star stores, innovative computing services and features from AWS, award-winning entertainment from Amazon Studios, and even groceries from Amazon Fresh. As we continue innovating, we will never forget our vision and mission to be the world's most customer-centric company. As you'll see on your tour, we've come a long way from that garage in Seattle. Today, you'll have a chance to meet some of the people who help make everything we do possible. Welcome to the Amazon Fulfillment Center tour. We hope it makes you smile.
Welcome back, everybody. And today we are going to take you inside 3 of our buildings. We are going to take you inside Man 1, that's named after Manchester Airport in Manchester with Hannah. We are going to take you inside LCY2 with Paul, which is named after London City Airport. And we're also going to take you inside LBA2 with myself, it's named after Leeds Bradford Airport. Now, believe it or not, we have got well over 50 fulfillment centres across Europe. And our fulfillment centres are split into 2 areas. We have inbound and we have outbound. Now, what is going to pop up on your screen just now is a slide, and this slide is showing you the areas and processes that we are going to be visiting today. Now, the first area we're going to be visiting is our inbound area, and this is where all the items will come into the building. From inbound then, it's a short trip through, and we're going to go visit our store area. Now, store is just a fancy word for putting items away. Now, once we visit the store then, it's another walk through, and we're going to go visit our picking area. Now, picking area is actually when we get the items off the shelf once they have been ordered by our customers on the Amazon website. From pick, we're then going to go through to pack. And pack, well, that's where we put it into our world famous smile boxes. Now, once we've been in pack, we are then going to go to one of my favorite areas in the whole building. And it's got a really cool bit of technology in there, and it's called SLAM. Now, SLAM stands for Scan, Label, Apply, and Manifest. I'm not going to tell you any more about it. We're going to have to wait till we get there. And then from SLAM, we're going to go to our last area in this building, which is shipping. And this is when we get the item ready to go out to its next destination. Now, just before we step inside our first building, I want to give you the opportunity to see a view that not a lot of people get the chance to see. Now, what is going to come up on your screen in just a second is one of our buildings in North Italy. And it is called BLQ1. And I think we can all agree what a fantastic view this actually is. Now, it's based in Bologna, and it was built in September of 2020. Now, you're probably looking at that and you're thinking, what are those black sort of triangle or rectangles in the top corner? Well, they're actually our solar panels. And this is one of 125 buildings that we have, or fulfillment centres, that's actually got solar panels on the roof of its building as well. Now, this building is also what we call an AR building, which stands for Amazon Robotics. Now, just to bear something in mind, that our buildings are either what we call sortable, which means we deal with small items, or non-sortable, which means we deal with large items. And we will dive into that later on in the tour as well. Okay, so I think we might have had enough now of looking at pictures. So now it's time to take a look in our first building. And I would like to officially welcome you all to LBA2 in Doncaster. Now, this building is what we call a non-sortable building. This means we deal with large items. So I want you to imagine things like washing machines, lawnmowers. We have even had fish ponds in here as well. Now, thinking back to slides we saw earlier, I am stood in our first area, which is inbound. And this is where all the processes will start from. Now, if you take a look just down to my side here, what you are going to notice is some bay doors or loading bay doors. Now, these doors are where the trailers turn up, full of items ready to come into this building. And you can actually see there's a trailer there with some items on. Now, those items are sent by our vendors and sellers all across the UK and the EU. Now, in this particular area of inbound, this is where we take off our smaller items. Now, you're probably looking at those boxes on there, you're thinking, Adam, they do not look like small items. Well, to be fair, they don't, but because we deal with large items here, for us, there are smaller items. Now, what will happen here is one of our colleagues will take the items off the trailer and they will put them onto one of these conveyor belts that you see here. Now, the reason we use conveyor belts is the last thing we want is for our colleagues to be walking all over with these boxes. So we make the conveyor belt do all the work, and the conveyor belt will transport the items all around the building for us. Now, once the items go on this conveyor belt, they're going to end up in an area called receive. And we'll talk a little bit more about receive in just a minute. Now, this is where we take off our small items, as I mentioned earlier, but we also deal with larger items here as well. Now, if you're going to notice that just down the back wall down there, we've got some more of those loading bay doors. Now, there's actually another 38 doors down there. And the doors down there is actually where we take off our larger items. Now, when we take off the items down there, one of the colleagues who takes them off will use a special truck. And that truck is called a forklift truck. And because the items are large, they're actually taken off using wooden pallets. And they will stay on those wooden pallets as well. Now, once they get taken off, they're going to go to the area we spoke about just a minute ago, which is receive. Now, in the receive area, what we're going to do is we are going to check the items for damages, and we're also going to count the items because we need to make sure the right amount has come off the trailer. Now, once we've done those checks, we then need to go put the item away. But because they're larger items, we need to put them into a special area. But I want to show you that area, but we're going to take a bit of a walk, so come with me. Now, as the camera's coming round, what you are going to notice is that behind me is what we call some really tall shelving or racking. And we could just about make it out now coming down. Now, as you can see there, now, really interesting to know that that racking that you're looking at behind me just there is around about 11.5 meters tall, which is round about 30 feet. And we put the items away up there using another special forklift truck that puts them away really high. And remember, they will stay on the wooden pallets while they're in there as well. Now, here's another interesting fact to think about, because if you imagine all the items that we've got in this building, in fact, imagine all the items we've got in all our buildings worldwide. And believe it or not, over half the items in them buildings do not belong to Amazon. They actually belong to our third-party vendors and sellers. And what we do with it, we'll fetch the items in for them, we'll store the items for them, we will pick, pack, and we will ship the items out for them as well. We will even take care of the customer services for them. And we call that Fulfilled by Amazon. So we've seen what we do with the large items, they'll go up there, but what about the smaller items that we saw earlier? Well, remember, they're on the conveyor belt and they're on a little bit of a journey. Now, where they've gone is they've actually gone up the side of here and they've ended up at a row of desks that's just behind me there. Now, that row of desks just there is actually called the receive line. Now, we're going to do the exact same checks there as we did in the receive area earlier, checking for damages and count the items. We're also going to scan the barcode that is on the items. Now, as you can probably imagine, the barcode is really important at Amazon because not only does that contain all the information that we need to know about the item, but it also allows us to track the item, no matter where it goes inside our building. Now, once you scan that barcode, you'll then place the item into one of those black cages that you can just see behind me there. Now, here's another interesting fact, because we've actually got over 600 of those black cages in this building. So once you put the item into that cage, once that cage is full, we are then going to move it to a special area, which is just over here. Now, once the items go into that area, all we've got to do then is go put the items away. Remember stowing. But before we get talking about stowing here, I'm going to pass you over to my very good friend and colleague, Hannah, and she's going to tell you about the really cool things that she has at her site. So, Hannah, it's over to you.
Hi, Adam, and thanks for that brilliant introduction to today's tour. It's always fascinating to see inside each other's building, and that is just the most amazing view. So, everybody, welcome here to Man One. My name's Hannah, and I'm the tour leader here, delivering tours in Manchester. So, Man One is what's known as a robotics building. So everything that comes into our building must fit into a container that we call a black tote. So unlike Adam's building, which deals with all the massive items, we deal with all the small, fast-moving items. So a tote looks like this, and it's just a black container. So all the inventory that comes into inbound is then decanted, opened up, and then put into these black containers. The barcode of this item will have been scanned, and then the all-important barcode on this tote. Now, this tote is then put onto a conveyor, and it's a very funky spiral conveyor that makes its way up onto one of our robotics floors. Now, we have a brilliant team of support employees whose job it is then to go and take those totes full of inventory and then bring them to our workstations. For our employees who are based at workstations all around the edge of this floor that you can see behind me. Now, this team are called water spiders. So remember water spiders, because we might just be testing your knowledge in a little while. So as I say, everything that comes into our building must fit into one of those totes. So it's a maximum size dimensions of 18 inches. So nothing weighing more than 11 kilograms. Now we're going to take a look at the stow process in a short while. But first and foremost, I wanted to introduce you to the incredible technology that we have helping us to prepare your customer orders. Now, this is one of 3 robotics floors here at Man1. So that's 3 floors of robots moving the inventory from one area to another. Now, if you hadn't guessed it already, our drive units, oh, there's one just right behind me. Our drive units and our robots are those orange drive units that you can see behind me. Now, Amazon first introduced robots back in 2012 with the acquisition of a company called Kiva. So originally our robots were called Kiva robots, but now Amazon have renamed them to ARs, which stands for Amazon Robotics. Now we have hundreds of these workhorses on each of our robotics floors, helping to bring all of the inventory to our employees. And in fact, our robots handle about 80% of all of the inventory in this building. And by doing all of that heavy lifting and movement for us, it greatly reduces the amount of walking that our employees need to do. Now, I'm sure you're fascinated to learn how our robots go about navigating. Well, each one of them is fitted with a camera underneath, which is scanning what we call a fiducial. Now, this fiducial is simply a 2D barcode, and we have thousands of these 2D barcodes stuck over the robotics floors. And our robots actually scan the fiducial, and then reading that map of 2D barcodes, our robots travel in the most efficient route around the floor, traveling around with that product, picking up those inventory towers that you can see behind me, and then bringing them to the workstations. Now, these yellow towers behind me that you can see being moved around the floor, well, they're simply our mobile storage shelves, and we call these pods. So you've got our ARs, you've got our fiducials, and then you've got our pods. Now, there's no technology in those pods whatsoever. All the technology is in the AWS software actually running the floor and in the robots. Now, our robots weigh in at about 145 kg, but actually have the capacity to lift around 2.5 times that weight. So up to around 340 kg, which a good friend of mine told me is around the size of a small cow. But I'm definitely not seeing any cows being moved around out on the floor today. What I can see, though, is hundreds and thousands of different product lines in all of these pods behind me. So we have a safety team called Amnesty Responders, whose job it is to interact with our robots on a daily basis. And I do believe they've got one of the best jobs in this building. And one of the questions that we do get asked quite often on a tour is, well, what happens if a product actually falls from one of those towers onto the robotics floors? Well, in fact, our robots will actually detect that item in its path. So it won't just kind of roll into it. The robot will actually stop and reroute in another direction, but will actually send a message to the cloud for our team of Amnesty Responders, who will then enter the floor to remove the item. Now, in order to keep this team safe, Amazon invented a robotics safety vest. And it uses artificial intelligence, sensors, and enhanced communications to send signals to the robots. And they will automatically slow down in that area. Their maps will update, and they will actually just avoid that location where the Amnesty Responder is working. Now, Amazon actually invested $9.8 million into the development of these safety vests. But it's by doing this allows for this continuous stream of information to keep the robotics floor moving safely and efficiently. And when you see it happen, it's absolutely fascinating. Because actually these amnesty responders can enter the floor and literally stop traffic in the area that they wish to work in. Now, I'm sure you're keen to see what the collaboration between this incredible technology looks like with one of our employees. So we're going to go and have a look at the stow process now. And like Adam said earlier, stow simply means to put the inventory away. Now, the first thing that we need before we get stowing is a workbench full of totes that are absolutely full of inventory ready to be put away. Now we're going to go and meet Veronica now, who is one of our superstar stowers. So we'll just say a hello to her and see how she's doing. Hi, Veronica. How are you doing today? Yeah, so good to see you. So to get going with the process and actually wake up the robots and send them to go off to work, Veronica will have logged into her workstation and then scanned each of the barcodes on these totes in front of her. Now, it's by scanning these barcodes that wakes the robots up. The robots will then go off and collect pods where there's available space. Now, the robots will bring the pod to the workstation with the face facing Veronica, where there's space in that pod to put the items away. Now, each of our pods has 4 sides, and on each of these 4 sides is a different sized set of shelves. And this means we can stow away items safely and securely. So our smallest size is just 6 inches. So anything below that, you know, we've got lip balms, we've got pens, we've got books, all those really small items, right up to that maximum size of 18.5 inches. Now, heavier products could not be stowed in the top shelves. The system will inform Veronica that actually those items need to be placed in the bottom shelves, and this is to avoid any risk to injury. Now, one of the fascinating things that Amazon does is the way it actually stores items. Now, I bet you thought before you came on this virtual tour that all of the items would be stowed away into categories. So you'd have special areas where we would just store, say, health and beauty items or those books. Well, no, Amazon ripped up that rule book and threw it right out of the highest window. So in fact, Amazon has a method called randomized stow. And this actually means that we don't categorize our items. We put any item in any location in that pod, in any pod, on any floor. Now, why do we do this? Well, Amazon found this to be the most efficient way to stow items and then pick items, so picking live customer orders, because it avoids bottlenecks with any popular items. It means we can utilize every single space available to us inside the pods, and it's all to do with speed and efficiency. Now, when those items have been put away and the location has been scanned and recorded on our system, well, the product is then a digital and physical match on our systems, and within minutes, just minutes, it's available for sale on Amazon's website. So this is now the end of our inbound process. So you've seen how we receive the inventory, we've looked at our amazing robots, and now we've looked at how we stow items away. So I'm going to throw you over now to Paul at LCY2, who's waiting to show you the start of our outbound process. Hey, Paul, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Hannah. And yeah, we are going to leave a stowing area and we're going to make our way over to a picking station. So amazingly, our pickers and stowers can work literally side by side Obviously, there's a big gap between our stations, but all around the outside of the robotics field. So there is a stowing station, and here is a picking station. So this is the start of the outbound operations. This is after you have pushed that magic buy now button on the Amazon website. So let's zoom in a little bit and give you a closer view of what's going on inside this station, and I'll explain to you what we're looking at. So the first thing a picker needs are empty black totes, which, as you can see from the middle of your screen there, get fed to us on our middle shelf automatically by our conveyor belt system. So we then scan that barcode on the tote and we lay the totes on this shelf in front of us. Now, once we've done that, the system is then automatically going to go and fetch us a pod and bring it to our workstation. What it's going to do is going to fetch the pod with the nearest item in it that you need to pick from the system. It's quite amazing to think the system can work that out. What you've got to remember as well is there are about 1,000 robots in this one robotics field, and there are 6 in this building, and there's somewhere in excess of a few thousand pods in each robotics field. So the system works out the nearest item, goes and collects it, and brings it to our workstation. So this is Alex. What Alex is then going to do is get a signal on his screen. He's going to get a picture on his screen of the item he's picking. He's also going to get a light shine on the pod, the bin location on that pod. He's going to take the item out, find the barcode, and then place it into the tote that the little green sensor here lights up on. That's a good pick. It's that simple. What he's picking is one of a few things. He is either picking a single item order. So if you only ordered one item today, it's going to go into one tote with the other single item orders, and Alex will then send it downstairs to single pack, where we're going to pack them one at a time. But remember, Hannah was telling you about the multi-item order system, so the random stow system we use in our buildings. So if you ordered 2 or more items, the likelihood that both your items are going to come to Alex here is very slim. They're probably going to go to 2 different areas of our fulfillment center, which is quite amazing. So how does that work? So the other totes, so the ones that aren't going to singles pack, are going to multi-pack. This means they are multiple item orders. So what happens then is, as they're making their way along our conveyor belts, we're scanning this barcode here to work out where to send them. When they get to multi-pack, our amazing team will then take the items out and use a process called rebin, where we put them into another section in our buildings, and when all the items are together, we can push them through and pack them in one of those incredible smiley face boxes you see at your front door. Okay, so let's get Alex to send a tote down for us. Alex, can you release a tote down to pack for me? Thank you. Right, let's send the tote downstairs. Let's follow it. So it's going to go down there. It's released them all, and they're going to go and join this conveyor belt here. Then they're going to get lifted up, and they're then going to join this conveyor belt here that runs the whole length and width of the building on the 3 upper floors, and it's going to make its way down to the middle of the building to a spiral to go down to the ground floor, where the sorter's going to work out whether to send it a singles pack or multi-pack. When it gets there, it'll be sorted out again and ready to be packed. So luckily for you, because you're here virtually, I have the ability to make you really, really small and place you in one of our totes and send you on what we like to call the roller coaster ride down to pack. So fasten your seatbelts, hold on tight, and enjoy the ride downstairs to pack.
Hi everybody, I hope that you're not too dizzy after that roller coaster ride. Well, You've landed right here in our pack singles department back in Man 1. I'm just popping on my safety gloves here that I've just got out of one of our vending machines. And in fact, these are just one of many items that we have available free of charge for our employees to get access to anytime that they need it from, as I say, we've got a multitude of these vending machines situated at different locations all across our building. So we've got safety gloves, we have got safety knives, we've got safety vests, we've even got ear defenders, all available out of the vending machine. We don't have chocolate though, which I'm definitely keen to get added. So all I needed to do to actually get going with the process is to log into this workstation. I've pulled down one of the totes that's full of products. So these are all customer orders that have just been picked from our fantastic wonder team of pickers and our robots. So let's get going then, and I'll show you how to go about packing. So I've scanned the barcode on the tote, and it's given me all of the items that are inside of this tote, but I don't need to pack them in any order. I can simply choose the first product that I want to, and then find the barcode on the item. This is a lovely pack of acrylic paint markers. So I'm going to simply scan this barcode. Now, because all of our items, when they're new to the building, actually go through that process called QB-Scan, where we record the dimensions, width and weight of each of the items. Well, this actually gives us some crucial information here, because as you've seen here, we've got about 15 different options here for boxes and envelopes. So what the computer system is actually sharing with me is it's making a box size recommendation. So in this case, it's actually one of the envelopes. So I'm simply going to choose the envelope. I'm going to pop the product inside. Then I'm going to seal it. Now, at this point, if it was a box, I may need to add some of our recyclable dunnage. And I may need to add some tape to it as well. So I'm sure you have all seen the tape on our boxes. I will share some with you now. Here we are advertising Prime Day, which we're really excited about, which launches next week. Now this has been distributed to me from a fantastic little machine here called a Watt machine. So it's a water activated tape machine. And this tape machine actually measures out the exact amount of tape that we need for our boxes. This, as you can imagine, reduces a great deal of wastage. And also having this box recommendation sign also reduces any wastage, because as you can see, out of all of these box sizes, if I was to try and guess which was the best box size, I would really struggle. And in fact, Amazon is working with manufacturers to develop a sustainable program, which we call frustration-free packaging. And this is where we're actually working with our manufacturers so that we can send items to you, our customers, in the manufacturer's own box. So we work with the manufacturers to make sure that the packaging is easy to open and that it's recyclable, which means at this point, we wouldn't need to rewrap that particular item into a box or a bag. We'd simply send it to you in the manufacturer's own box. The product inside is exactly the same. All we would do is add the mailing label onto it before sending it to you. Now, here's one thing, and if you are sending a gift and you're worried that it might spoil a surprise if the recipient were to get it in the manufacturer's own box, which I'm sure it would do. I've got children and I know that they would get onto that very quickly. So all you need to do when you're ordering that item on our website is click, this is a gift. Now, if you just tick that box, at this process, our packer will know that we need to repack it into a smile box or a bag, send it along and not ruin any surprises. So I'm going to carry on packing this item and making sure we can get it to our customer. So I'm just going to remove that item. Just going to remove that strip. Bit sticky there. There we go. Now, what we don't add at this point is the customer address label. We save those details private until the next process, which is called SLAM. So how do we know who this is for and where we're sending it to? Well, what we do at this point is add what we call a SPOO label. Now, a spool label is another barcode, and it looks like this. So this is a spool label, and we call it a spool label because the first two letters are SP. And then when we first started using these labels many years ago, the first few digits were 000, hence the name SPOO, and the name has just stuck around despite all of this technology that you have seen today. Now the system is telling me that this shipment's complete. So all I need to do is put this on the conveyor, and do you know what? I'm going to send you down to SLAM right now with Paul at LCY2. Paul, it's over to you.
Oh, thank you very much, Hannah. Yeah, so let's make our way into the SLAM. So we're going to leave the pack area and make our way into the SLAM. So the SLAM is an acronym. It stands for scan, label, apply, manifest. But what does that mean? So as well as explain it to you, let me show you. So this conveyor belt here is bringing the parcels from one area of our packing team to one of our 16 SLAM lines. Yeah, 16 SLAM lines. So the SLAM lines are printing the address label on our package. So let's travel along this conveyor belt here. That spool label that Hannah was telling you about is facing up, and that's so it can be read by the first part of the SLAM, which is just here. So this part here is scanning that label as it comes through to take all the information from that barcode. So that barcode knows who ordered it, where it's going, how it's getting there, when it's getting there, even who's delivering it. So it's a very important part of the process. It's a bit like a registration plate of the shipment. This part's also doing a secondary job, but I'll tell you more about that in a minute. Let's get the address label covered first. So we scan that barcode here, take the information about that shipment. Then here, one of these two machines is then going to print and apply the address label in the fraction of a second. So you can see that arm comes down, that has the address label on it, and then air pressure is going to push that address label onto the box before that arm gets to actually touch the box. It gets to within about 1 centimetre or 2 of the box, then air pressure is going to push it on. That's then going to sail down the conveyor belt and head over to shipping. But let me tell you a little secret. So if you look here on my box at the bottom corner there, just above my finger, you can see it says LCY2. So this will tell you which fulfillment centre your shipment has come from or where it was processed from. So if it's an LCY2, it came from me. MAM1 would be Hannah. If you order something big like a dishwasher or a washing machine, LBA2, it should say on that address label. I've received the package from TRM1, which is in Turin, Italy. Same day delivery, of course. So let's look at the other part of the process this is doing. So remember I told you it's doing a secondary job. So if we get a bit closer, you might be able to see there's actually a little scales here as well. Right down here. So I've stopped it, I put my arm for the sensor. So the system's going to now have to be reset because I put my arm for a safety sensor that's there when I was trying to show you the scales. So that's going to weigh the packages to make sure that everything's correct. So let's say you ordered something and it was a pack of 10 pens. Let's say a pen fell out. There's now only 9 pens in your packet. Rather than sending that to you, what we do is we pick that up here when we weigh it. And it will get kicked out just down here onto one of these two chutes here. Like this one here just has. There's something wrong with this one here. So our problem-solving team will then open that package up and check it to find out what's wrong with it. They will then process it and send it over to shipping. Problem solvers are all over our building, and they literally do what it says on their tin. They solve any problems we have, whether that's with the actual shipment itself or just the barcode on the product. But once we have that shipping label on our box, it's then ready to head over to our shipping area. So it's going to travel on the conveyor belt, join another conveyor belt, and make its way over to shipping. Well, I'm going to pass you back to Adam, and he's going to show you the cool view he has in his building and also the shipping process. So Adam, over to you, my friend.
And welcome back, everybody. And I do hope you're not feeling too queasy after your second roller coaster ride of this tour. And thank you very much to Paul for taking us through the slam section. And as Paul quite rightly said as well, I'm stood near our shipping area. More precisely, I'm stood right on the top of our conveyor system. Now, once the items leave the slam machine, they've then got to make their way to our shipping area. But we actually send them on a bit of a journey. Now, if you take a look just down to my side here, you've noticed some packages. Now, these packages are starting to queue up, but they have just left our slam machine. And they're actually now about to start their journey. But there is a reason why we do send them on a bit of a journey. Because what you're going to notice is, as the camera's turning back around this way, behind me, you're going to notice a whole set of those loading bay doors you saw earlier. Now, on this side of the building, we have actually got 45 of these doors. So as you can imagine, depending where in the UK or the EU the item needs to go, will depend on what door the item will need to be at. Now, just below me down here, you're going to notice we've got another conveyor belt. But this conveyor belt is going to look a little bit different to the ones that we saw earlier, because you can notice it's got some red plastic caps on the end of it. Now, those red plastic caps are actually called shoes. And that's what actually pushes the item down. Now, something else to notice is under the yellow fence next to the conveyor belt. Now, on that yellow fence, we've got some numbers. And the numbers actually relate to the chute or the slide that the item will go down. So, depending, again, on what door the item will need to be at, will depend on what number chute the item will need to go down. So as the items will make their way up, these red plastic caps will move across and will push the item down the chute. Now, something really amazing to think about here is everything that you are looking at up here is controlled by our computer system. So not only does the computer system know the position of every single item that's on the conveyor belt and what number chute the item needs to go down, but it's also monitoring what's going off in shipping down below. Now, if shipping get really busy, there's no point in just sending items down these chutes, because the chutes will get backed up and the items could get damaged. So what the computer system can do, not only can it vary the speed of this conveyor belt to make it slower, but it can actually divert the items back round the conveyor system again, and that will then give shipping time to clear whatever's down there. So once the items goes down these chutes, it'll actually go onto another conveyor belt. From there, one of our colleagues will take the item off, we'll scan the barcode again on the item, we'll put the item on a pallet, we'll build the pallet up, and then we'll wrap the pallet with something called stretch wrap or shrink wrap. It'll then get loaded onto a trailer and it will head out to its next destination. But you're probably noticing that down there's some conveyor belts that are running into the back of trailers, similar to what we saw in inbound. But remember, inbound we're bringing items in, here we're sending items out. So what we're doing down there is something called loose loading. So instead of putting the item onto a pallet, we're going to put it directly onto the floor of the trailer. And we're going to build on top, right to the roof of the trailer. Because that way then, it makes sure that we utilise all the available space that we have inside that trailer. Because that means I can get more items in there, but more importantly, it means less lorries on the road. Now, here's my final interesting fact of this tour, because a lot of people do think the next destination after this building is our customers' homes. But actually it's not. Because where we send it to, we actually send it to one of our delivery stations, which is part of our logistics team. From there, they will get the items, they will split them into postcodes, and then they will get delivered to our customers' homes. Now, unfortunately, that's the main part of the tour over and done with. But what we're going to do for this next bit is we're going to go through some of the most commonly asked questions that we get on the tours. But I am not going to do this on my own. I'm going to invite Hannah and Paul back to join me. So Hannah and Paul, are you there? Hi Hannah, hi Paul, welcome back, and thank you for taking us round on your sites. It's been an absolute blast, as it always is. And we have got a few questions, so we are going to jump straight into the questions as well. So Paul, I'm going to fire this one over to you if that's okay. And it is, what do the different high-vis coloured vests mean that we've seen all around the buildings?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it comes up quite a lot. So as you can see, Adam, Hannah and myself are all wearing our blue FC Tours vests, but this is just one of many inside our building. So leadership will wear a yellow and orange vest. HR will wear a yellow and purple. Our social distancing team wear a green vest. This is just to make people easily identifiable inside our building. So if you need somebody, you can find them without any problems. But also, if you're working in a certain area, it's just part of our PPE to keep everybody safe inside our fulfillment centres.
Thank you very much for that answer, Paul. Hannah, I'm going to fire this one over to you if that's okay. And it is, do associates or do our colleagues or associates have to wear uniforms?
So no, as long as it's safe for the fulfillment centre floor and the environment, and of course family friendly, we can wear whatever is comfortable for our day.
Oh, fantastic answer. Thank you very much for that, Hannah. And I'm going to take this next question as well. And it is, why do I get small items in a big box? Well, whenever a new item enters our inventory, we actually record its size and its weight and store this information inside a database. So when one of our customers actually orders the item, our system will then reference that information and automatically calculate which size box will be best. And it even takes into account multiple ordered items as well for our customers. But not only that, our colleagues have also got the ability to override the system. So if we think there's a better or smaller box for it, we can choose that one as well. Okay, so next question is, Paul, I'm going to come back to you again, if that's all right with you. What happens when I return an item?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so well, for the UK, if you return an item to Amazon, it's going to go to EDI 4, which is in Dunfermline in Bonnie, Scotland. These will then be assessed to whether or not they can be resold. If they're suitable, they will be relisted on our website at a discounted price or on the warehouse deals. An exception to the rule is if it's clothing or apparel, it's going to end up going to CWL1 in Swansea, Wales, because they deal with clothes for the UK.
Fantastic, thank you, Paul. And Hannah, another question for yourself. How many items does a FC or fulfillment centre have in it?
Yeah, as you've seen today, just a few. So it really varies from location to location based on a number of factors. So the building size, the type of inventory that the building specialises in. So whether that's small items and those bigger and bulkier items. And then it also depends on, you know, seasonality. So what time of the year it is. Are we at the festive season? I mean, most recently, it's just Father's Day in the UK on Sunday. So all of those factors, you know, come into play when we think about how many items are in a fulfillment centre. But what I can tell you is an average Amazon Robotics fulfillment centre can hold millions of items.
Oh, thank you very much for that answer, Hannah. And so obviously I'm going to take this next one. Might be a little bit of an easy question, this one for me, and it is, how many fulfillment centres does Amazon have? Well, we actually have over 175 fulfillment centres across the globe, and well over 50 in Europe. And actually, we've just got just over 25 in the UK as well, believe it or not. Paul, I'm coming back to you again. So, do we take additional safety measures during our peak season? And just for our guests, peak season is one of our busiest times as well.
Cool. Yeah, so that's a valid question. But the answer is no, we don't. We don't do anything different for safety-wise for the peak season. Safety is our main priority inside our buildings throughout the entire year, and that includes like quarterly refreshers and annually refreshers. Or it depends upon the training you're receiving. But no different for peak.
Oh, brilliant! Thank you very much for that, Paul. Hannah, another question for you on this one. What is Amazon doing to improve its impact on the environment?
Yeah, and this is a question that we get asked a lot about. So in fulfillment, our sustainability measures start on our website when we offer our customers the chance to actually group their items into fewer shipments. And then next we work with our vendors to improve the product packaging, and which therefore allows us to ship items in the manufacturer's box rather than applying additional Amazon boxes over the top of it, just like I showed you in our packing department. Now, we've got over 125 different fulfillment centres with solar panels on their roofs. And inside these centres, we implement technology which further reduces the volume of packaging required per shipment. As a business, we've also purchased 100,000 electric delivery vehicles to cut down on carbon emissions. And this is all part of our climate pledge to reach to be carbon neutral by 2040. And you might well see some of those electric vehicles out on the roads near you, so keep a lookout for them.
Oh, fantastic answer. Thank you very much for that, Hannah. We've just got a couple more questions in. I'm going to take this next one as well. Is everyone trained in safety procedures, including management? Well, actually, Amazon safety is our #1 priority. And all our employees attend what we call a safety school before they start working and fulfilling customers' orders. We also have quarterly and yearly trainings to make everyone up to date on it. And in addition, every shift and every meeting always starts with safety tip as well. Okay, so we have our last question, and Hannah, I'm going to bring this one back to you. So I'm sorry that you've answered more than us as well. I really am sorry about that. But here we go. What happens when I select an item for gift wrapping?
Oh, so yeah, I mean, that's just such a wonderful feature, isn't it? So when you click gift wrap, when you click the gift wrap option during that ordering process, and basically what happens is the items are diverted to a special pack station, which is just for gift wrapping. And over our festive season, it's absolutely buzzing in this area, as you can imagine. So yeah, I hope that answers all of the questions that you're going to fire at me today, Adam.
I promise, Hannah, well, first of all, thank you very much for answering that one extra question. And I promise that is the end of the questions for everybody. So I just want to thank Paul and Hannah for taking us around today on their site. It's been an absolute blast, as it always is. And I just want to thank our guests as well for spending an hour with us and letting us talk about the roles and the jobs that we love to talk about. And I would just like to say to my guests, thank you very much for joining. And we do hope to see you again soon, and goodbye.